When do you waive defenses? And in particular, how can you avoid easy waiver of defenses? That's what we're going to talk about. Now, let's start with a big picture of defenses. In particular, what defenses are in danger of easy waiver? So there's a bunch of defenses you can make. The ones that you're most in danger of waiving are the 12B2 through 5 defenses. That's why there's this warning sign. Rule 8C defenses technically could be waived, but only if you never amend your pleading before trial to include them. So it's actually hard to waive affirmative defenses because the rules for amending are pretty liberal. So we're not really focusing on 8C defenses. For now, we're actually going to focus on the 12B2 through 5 defenses that are actually tricky and could easily get waived if you don't know what you're doing. Now, I tried to do a flow chart on PowerPoint, but since I'm not savvy, I gave that up. So here's instead a handwritten chart that we're going to walk through. So in terms of defenses that are easily waived, the first thing you want to ask, the first box, is whether it is a Rule 12B2 through 5 defense. What are these defenses? Well, they are lack of PJ, a service problem, or lack of venue. In other words, these are all things that the defendant, if competent, should be able to easily identify at the beginning. Lack of PJ, service problems, or lack of venue. If it is one of these things, the next question is whether you filed a pre-answer motion. If you did, following on the yes here, the question is, was the defense then available? If it was, then all of these are always then available when you filed your original pre-answer motion, even if you personally didn't know the law. Then you go all the way down here, it is waived. Now, if it's a different kind of a defense, like lack of SMJ, which is 12B3, none of this would apply because you're not at this first box. It's not an easy defense to waive. Same thing with 12B6, failure to state a claim. Now going back here, assuming you did not file a pre-answer motion, and so you haven't automatically waived your defense, the next question is, can you now file a timely pre-answer motion? If you can, you should see on the side it says just do it, and that's supposed to be a Nike swoosh. I know it is terrible, it just looks like a blob. But it's supposed to be a reminder, if you can file a timely pre-answer motion, just go ahead and do it. And then there is no waiver. Alternatively, if you've passed the time for an answer, a pre-answer motion, then you ask whether you can answer timely. Now, if you haven't, you go ahead and you just answer. Now, if you've already answered, then you still might not have waived your defense, because if you've already answered without filing a pre-answer motion, you can still amend your answer as a matter of course, the freebie amendment. So if you can amend as a matter of course, this is another thing, just go ahead and do it. But if it is too late, or you already did one amendment as a matter of course, then you're again stuck at the bottom in the waiver. So what you should see is, if you don't file a pre-answer motion, there's multiple escape hatches where you might still be able to raise your 12B2 through 5 defense without waiver. Only if you go through all of these down here do you end up waiving if there is no pre-answer motion. So in other words, if you file a pre-answer motion, it's kind of dangerous if you don't get all of these easily waivable defenses in that first pre-answer motion. Whereas if you don't file a pre-answer motion, there is a little bit of wiggle room. Hopefully that is helpful.